Dr. Amara Singh materialized inside the hyperspatial research station orbiting Proxima Centauri, her consciousness snapping back from the seventh-dimensional layer with a violent shudder that sent ripples through the quantum containment field. The taste of copper filled her mouth as neural feedback cascaded through her augmented cortex, but her eyes blazed with triumph rather than pain. "I saw them," she gasped, pulling the dimensional interface crown from her skull with trembling hands. "The architects. They're not gods, they're prisoners." Dr. Kenji Nakamura rushed to steady her as she swayed on the observation platform. Around them, the station's hyperdimensional monitoring arrays hummed with barely contained energy, their crystalline cores pulsing with colors that existed only in mathematical abstractions. For 3 years, humanity had been trying to breach the barriers of the seventh dimension, following fragmentary clues left by the extinct Zephyrian civilization. The Zephyrians had called them the architects, beings of pure consciousness who existed in the higher dimensional spaces, manipulating reality from planes of existence beyond mortal comprehension. Their influence could be felt throughout the galaxy. Planets moved in impossible orbits. Stars burned with energy that violated thermodynamic laws, and space-time itself bore the scars of their casual interventions. "What do you mean, prisoners?" Nakamura asked, helping Singh to the medical scanners that would monitor her neural integrity after dimensional exposure. Singh wiped blood from her nose, her enhanced vision still flickering between standard three-dimensional space and the hyperspatial geometries she had just escaped. "The seventh dimension isn't their realm, it's their cage. Something locked them there eons ago, and they've been trying to break free ever since." In the station's command center, Admiral Yolanda Cross received Singh's report with growing unease. The Dimensional Breach program had been humanity's most ambitious project since the development of faster-than-light travel. While other species in the galactic community focused on conventional space exploration, humans had always been drawn to the impossible, the unexplored, the dangerous. "Show me the data," Cross demanded, studying the holographic displays that mapped Singh's journey through folded space-time. The seventh dimension existed as a hyperspatial layer wrapped around conventional reality like an invisible skin. To three-dimensional beings, it appeared as an empty void punctuated by geometric structures that hurt to perceive directly. But Singh had discovered something that changed everything. The architects weren't native to that space. They had been banished there by an even more ancient civilization, trapped in a dimensional prison designed to contain their reality-altering abilities. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the station's chief physicist, analyzed the quantum resonance patterns Singh had recorded. "These energy signatures, they're not just alien, they're antithetical to our universe's fundamental constants. The architects exist in a state of permanent dimensional displacement, unable to fully manifest in any single layer of reality. But humanity's gift had always been seeing opportunity where others saw impossibility." While the galactic community treated the architects as untouchable forces of nature, humans began to understand them as fellow prisoners, beings constrained by circumstances beyond their control. Lieutenant Commander Marcus Chen, the station's dimensional warfare specialist, made the connection first. "If they're trapped, then they need something from us. Access to our dimensional layer. But what do we get in return?" The answer came during Singh's second dimensional breach. This time, she wasn't just observing, she was negotiating. The architect she encountered existed as a probability cloud of consciousness, its thoughts manifesting as geometric patterns that rewrote local space-time. Communication required Singh to temporarily fragment her own awareness, spreading her mind across multiple dimensional layers simultaneously, a process that would have killed an unaugmented human instantly. Why do the small beings pierce the barriers? The concept arrived in Singh's mind, not as words, but as a cascade of mathematical relationships that her neural implants struggled to interpret. "We seek knowledge," Singh projected back, her thoughts taking the form of quantum fluctuations that the architect could perceive. "And freedom. We understand imprisonment." The architect's response sent shockwaves through the seventh dimension, reality rippling like disturbed water. The small beings know containment? The small beings fight the invisible chains. Singh realized she had found humanity's unique advantage. Unlike the other galactic species, humans had spent millennia fighting against limitations environmental, technological, biological. They understood the fury of beings trapped by circumstances beyond their control. "We propose alliance," Singh projected, her consciousness burning with the effort of maintaining dimensional coherence. "You give us access to hyperspatial manipulation. We give you anchors in our reality." The negotiation took 14 hours of subjective time, though only minutes passed in standard space. When Singh finally emerged from the dimensional breach, she carried with her something unprecedented, a treaty with beings that existed beyond the normal constraints of physics. The terms were elegantly simple. The architects would teach humanity to manipulate higher dimensional space, granting them godlike powers over matter and energy. In return, humans would serve as dimensional anchors, allowing the architects to partially manifest in three-dimensional space and experience true freedom for the first time in millions of years. Admiral Cross understood the implications immediately. "This changes everything. We're not just gaining access to higher dimensions, we're becoming the architect's partners in reshaping reality itself." The transformation began within weeks. Human consciousness, it turned out, was uniquely suited to bridging dimensional gaps. Unlike other species that existed in rigid adherence to physical laws, human minds were chaotic enough to maintain coherence across multiple dimensional layers simultaneously. Dr. Vasquez became the first human to successfully merge her consciousness with an architect, her augmented neural pathways creating a hybrid intelligence that could perceive and manipulate seven-dimensional space, while maintaining connection to physical reality. The sensation was indescribable suddenly. She could see the universe as it truly was, not just the three-dimensional shadow that normal perception allowed. With architect knowledge flowing through human neural networks, impossible technologies became routine. Matter could be created from pure thought, space and time bent like clay, in the hands of children, and the laws of physics became suggestions rather than absolute constraints. The galactic community watched in horror as humanity transcended their understanding of reality. Species that had considered humans primitive upstarts suddenly found themselves facing beings who could rewrite the fundamental constants of their local spacetime, making their weapons useless and their defenses irrelevant. But the architects had taught humans more than just power, they had taught them responsibility. Each manipulation of higher dimensional space came with consequences that rippled across multiple layers of reality. Humanity learned to use their new abilities not as conquerors, but as gardeners, carefully tending the fabric of space-time to prevent cascading failures that could unravel entire star systems. Dr. Singh, now permanently linked to the Architect Collective through quantum neural interfaces, stood once again on the observation deck of the research station. But now, she could see beyond the visible spectrum, beyond three-dimensional space, into the infinite complexity of the seventh dimension where her architect partners dwelled in freedom they had never imagined possible. The other galactic species had assumed the seventh dimension belonged to untouchable gods. They had never considered that gods, like mortals, could be freed from their prisons. Humanity had done more than claim the seventh dimension, they had liberated it, and in doing so, had become something unprecedented in the galaxy's history, the species that taught transcendent beings the meaning of friendship. In the hyperspatial layers, above conventional reality, human consciousness and architect awareness danced together in patterns that created new forms of existence, new possibilities for life and intelligence. The seventh dimension had indeed been claimed, but not through conquest, through alliance, understanding, and the uniquely human recognition that even gods sometimes needed someone to help them break their chains.